everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks again for all your comments. It's way too hot outside. Oh, goodness me. More hot weather. Oh, too hot out. So in this video, I just want to talk about some things that I've experienced recently. So I want to talk about a webinar that I attended recently. So recently I attended a webinar, it was called Neurodiversity in Research, if I remember correctly. And the reason I took part is because I attend a public engagement group. It's like I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's for people with lived experience of autism and neurodevelopmental conditions. I also attend an OCD one as well, but they're lived experience groups where people with lived experience meet periodically to try and influence research, sort of thing. And it was through attending those groups that I was emailed a link to this webinar, Neurodiversity in Research, and I thought it might be interesting. I knew that it was likely going to make me be a little bit toxic in places and made me feel a bit, bring up some strong emotions, because obviously it's quite, my views on neurodiversity, and it's a very controversial topic, shall we say. But, I thought I should attend anyway, because I think it's important that people who are critical of the neurodiversity paradigm attend these meetings, because otherwise they can be kind of like an echo chamber where people who support neurodiversity are going on about how great it is and how great the paradigm is, and then if there's no one there challenging it, it's just kind of reinforced, and someone's going to challenge it. So I just thought, well, maybe I could be that person. So I attended that. Now it did get quite toxic. Okay. I'm just going to run through some of the things that were talked about, and then I want to talk to you about, I basically had a meltdown. Okay, we'll get on to that bit. Let's say, I had a meltdown. Okay. I basically got very, very upset. But I'll get on to that in a minute. So, the first talk was by someone called Dr. Lisa. I'm probably not pronouncing her surname correctly because she's German, I think. So it's a German name. Quad, I think, Qudt. You can Google her if you like. She's, she's not at all anonymous. She's got pages up on Google and everything. She's quite sort of, I guess, well regarded in her field. I don't have anything against her at all. She seemed a really nice person, I have to say. She seemed very nice. I have actually met her before. Because I once took part in a research study on intraception that she was leading, autism and intraception, looking at developing therapies, tapping into heart rate and how becoming more aware of heart rate can kind of help people manage their anxiety and stuff like that. And she's a researcher in neuroscience. I can't remember what the exact title is, but I think she works at Brighton University, or is it Sussex University? I get confused. It might be Sussex University because there's Brighton and Sussex University, or it might be both, I can't remember. Medical school or something. So I've got nothing against her. She seems, she's a genuine nice person. But I do disagree with the framework that she endorses. I don't see eye to eye with her on that, but I respect her. I think she's a nice person. But yeah, obviously I do disagree with her framework. So she basically began by talking about neurodiversity. Talking about how neurodiversity means that all brains are different. Which is obviously a fact. I don't disagree with that. Yeah, all brains are different. You can call it neurodiversity if you like. But it's a fact that all brains are different. I'm not going to quibble with that. That's kind of self-explanatory and pretty obvious. I don't think anyone can argue against that. So all brains are different, everyone's diverse. That's neurodiversity, because they always talk, they draw a distinction, don't they, between neurodiversity and those who are neurodivergent, where everyone's neurodiverse, but neurodivergent is where you massively deviate from your sort of like usual diversity. I don't like the word neurodivergent personally. I don't really, the term neurodiverse doesn't bother me quite so much when it's applied to like just everyday diversity. I don't like it being applied to autism though, because obviously autism is more than just diversity, but that's why they talk about neurodivergence, don't they, to separate it out. But I don't personally like the word neurodivergence. I just prefer saying I'm neurodisabled, because divergent just seems a little bit like you're trying to shy away from disability, and it seems a bit like a euphemism, and I don't like euphemisms. But yeah, so all brains are different anyway, and that would include autism, Alzheimer's. Well, this is what Lisa says. She mentioned Alzheimer's, autism. Yeah. And then, like I say, she talked about neurodivergence. Interestingly, she did include Alzheimer's in neurodivergence, and she called that acquired neurodivergence, which was interesting. And also she included migraine as an example of neurodivergence, and epilepsy and things like that. I mean, yeah, all of these conditions are brain-based conditions, but for me, it's just I don't like the term neurodivergence. I'd rather call it a spade a spade. They're neurodisabilities, and very serious ones, some of them, particularly epilepsy. And then she talked about how everyone has strengths and challenges, and how it's all about how to support everyone. I disagree with her on that, because yeah, obviously everyone has strengths and challenges, but to kind of like level the field and imply that the challenges, that is just the case, that everyone has strengths and challenges, and how it's about how to support everyone without looking at the specifics of conditions, I just think is kind of a dodgy way of looking at it. And I don't like it because of the implications of where it could lead. It like reminds me of Animal Farm. Yeah, we're all equal, but some are more equal than others. And like you can't, if you're kind of like just saying, yeah, we're all different, everyone has strengths and challenges, yeah, that's true, but some people have more challenges than other people. And that's why some people actually have very real like disabilities. And that's not to diminish the challenges people who don't have disabilities have, but you can't compare them. And it doesn't help anyone kind of just levelling it out like that and implying it's all on the same plane. That definitely will mean unequal treatment, because by kind of levelling it all out, it's like it's like levelling it out to the same denominator. Some people actually have really serious disorders, and I just don't like this whole levelling approach. I just think it's euphemism, and it's kind of, to me, that does not sit well with me. Then she talked about the medical model. Now, obviously, it probably won't surprise you that she is very against the medical model. And she came out with a roll call of kind of terms that she says are part of the medical model, such as deficits, abnormal, failure restricted, inflexible, abnormal. These are some of the terms that are used in the diagnosis for autism in the criteria. So you will come across inflexible behaviours, restricted behaviours, obsessional behaviours, and so on and so on. And she says that these terms are pathologising. I really disagree with her on that. They're not pathologising, they're just describing the difficulties a person has. Like, they are deficits. I mean, to me, ignoring when something clearly is a deficit and saying it's not, that to me actually reinforces stigma. Because people are not going to be... It's kind of trying to hide an issue. You end up making the issue bigger, and then like if you're not allowed to talk about issues, it becomes taboo. And then like people with very real problems are not going to get good support, because everyone wants to sugarcoat it and say, oh, it's not a deficit, oh, we all have challenges. It means people don't get the support. It's really, really damaging. So my heart was kind of boom, 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 because I was feeling increasingly, oh, I don't agree with this. Like, can they slash a lot of crap? But anyway, I wasn't yet meltdown stage though. That came later. Because although I disagree with Lisa, I respect her and she is a nice person. But and she didn't like. Oh yeah, I'll get on to that. So then the other thing is, I guess she did some myth busters as well, like a myth about autistic people not having any empathy. Obviously it's not the case that autistics, completely lack empathy, but I talked about it elsewhere, so I won't go into it now. Anyway, autistic people not motivated to have social relationships, Um, um, yeah, I mean, some autistic people genuinely do struggle with social motivation, but obviously you can't apply that to all autistics, and it can vary across the lifespan. So I will agree with her that it's not helpful to say that as a general claim, clearly. But again, she talked about loneliness in autism and how that is a big thing, and also that autistics are more distressed by being lonely. So it's not just a case that autistics are lonely, but they also report being more distressed by being lonely. So that shows how, it's not the case that autistic people necessarily want to be all on their own. And then, she talked about some harmful stereotypes, women being underdiagnosed and stuff like that. She also talked about how the spectrum is not linear to less to very autistic. She talked about huge variance in autism. She talked all about that. And then, interestingly, she talked about how she herself had recently been diagnosed. I was quite shocked when I discovered this. The reason I say shocked is because she doesn't come... I don't want to cause offence, okay, but I'm just going to say what's in my mind. I think that's part of my autism. I can't really hold back for what's in my mind, so I just say it as it is. So I don't intend to offend anyone. I just want to be honest and just say what's in my mind, okay? It shocked me because I did not detect autism in her at all. It really shocked me. And I know what you're going to say. Yeah, you can't always see autism in people. And I agree, you can't. Autism isn't always visible, but it shocked me. I guess it shocked me just based upon, I have met her, and I didn't get any vibes that she was autistic at all. Like, for quite a lot of people, it doesn't come as a surprise, even quite subtle ones, because I can sort of detect it, but I just didn't detect it in her. So I'm just going to be blunt, it shocked me. Okay, but that's the first thing. So she said she was autistic, and then she said, she does have a partner, by the way. She also has a good job as well, obviously, as she's researcher. She did mention, how she can't make phone calls to the doctor, for example, when she has flu. She can't make phone calls to the doctor. Her partner does that for her, but she can give lectures. Interesting, by the way, she only discovered she was autistic very recently, which is quite interesting considering she'd been working in the field for a long time. And it was only when some of her research participants seemed to think she was autistic. I never thought she was autistic, by the way. I never picked up any signs. I just thought she was just a neurotypical, if you want to use that word. That's problematic, but I didn't think she was autistic. It never crossed my mind she was autistic. That's why I was surprised, but anything's possible these days. But anyway, apparently quite a number of her research participants thought she was, and that's when she thought maybe she was, and obviously got diagnosed. She was also recently diagnosed with ADHD as well. Personally, I would have thought if you have both autism and ADHD, you probably wouldn't be able to do a job like she does. I think that's also why I was quite surprised, because you're supposed to be even more disabled if you have both autism and ADHD. It's meant to be a double disability, but which might presumably make it hard to do her job, I would have thought. She obviously isn't that disabled, and she's obviously against a medical model, so clearly she's not that disabled, because if you were properly disabled, you would not be saying autism is not a deficit. I'm sorry, but you would not. So it's clearly not a deficit for her. She's doing pretty well, obviously. Which is also, I think, another reason why I'm a little bit sceptical, but I'm not a doctor, so, and I don't know her life story, so we'll leave it there. But all I'm saying is it did come as a bit of a shock to me that she's autistic. But anyway, she argued against high functioning, and she said it's not linear, there's no such thing as mild or severe. I actually disagree with her when she said there's no such thing as mild and severe, though, because I sort of feel that, I don't want to go into this now because that'll take a whole other video, but there needs to be some way of separating out people like her from people like me, because she says it's not a deficit. So if it's not a deficit for her, and if she doesn't see there's anything wrong with her, then she can't be that severe. Do you know what I mean? It kind of cancels it out, doesn't it? But anyway, that'll take another video. Anyway, I'm going to move on to video number 2 now, because I want to talk about this other issue that happened when I had this meltdown. I'll get on to Dr. Mary Doherty. Now, she really pissed me off. Okay, moving on to video number 2 now.